Today, I will show you how I actually manage my projects in Microsoft Teams so that you can streamline your workflows. We will cover 7 areas from how I structure my team for projects to task management and communication. So let's nerd out. Before we jump in, I wanted to note that I will be referring to several videos in this tutorial so that you can dive deeper into specific areas. First, we are going to look at how we can structure our teams for projects. When we think about structuring our teams for projects, you might be wondering if you should have one team to manage a bunch of smaller projects, or if you should have one team per project. And this mainly boils down to 2 factors. And one is going to be the complexity of the project. So a bigger project, you may want to put that into its own team. But number 2 is permissions. To demonstrate permissions, I like to take a step back and look at what happens when we create a Microsoft team. So when we create a team, we are actually creating a SharePoint site. And when we create a SharePoint site, we are actually creating a 365 group. So when we think about a 365 group, you might want to organize this by departments, projects, or clients. And for members, you want to think about who will you be sharing your content with. Now, with every 365 group, we get a shared document library where you can organize and store your team's files. You also get a OneNote notebook where you can manage your notes. And we can also integrate with other applications such as Microsoft Loop, lists, planner, forms, and whiteboard. So we can really see that the 365 group is at the heart of a Microsoft team, because everybody that you invite into the team where we define the permissions is going to have access to all of the resources that are stored within your team. Now that we have seen how permissions play a factor, let's look at how I structure both of these teams. So at Amy's Animal Shop, we have this events team where we are managing smaller projects, and each channel is its own event. We also have this Nelson new location team, which is a bigger project, and each of these channels are for different phases or subcomponents of this project. So when we go and create a team, for projects, I always use the private team type. This just ensures that only the people that are on the team will have access to the content. And when I go to actually create these teams, I always start from scratch. You can browse these templates to brainstorm and get some ideas, but I find that when I create a team from one of these templates, it adds a lot of unnecessary information and clutters the team, which can also lead to confusion. Now, the only exception to starting from scratch is I will use this from another team if I'm going to create a new team for a big project, and then this big project team will act as a template. So I could go down here and I could select the team that I want to use as a template. And we're going to copy the apps, the settings, and the channels over to your new team. And the existing team won't be changed. So when I'm starting, the other thing that we need to define here is a name for the first channel. And in my case, I always do a dash and then general. So the dash keeps us at the top of the list because Microsoft Teams sorts your channels in alphabetical order. So this little dash keeps it at the top. But then I also just like to use the word general because this channel will stick with the team for as long as the team exists. So it is basically a general communication channel, whereas we can archive these individual channels when we have finished each of those projects. Now, the other thing that I do is when I go to add a channel to a team, I typically always use the standard channel type. The exception is I have a contractors, which is a shared channel, and a project managers, which is a private channel. But these channel types have a lot of limitations. So my rule of thumb is that if the content is not sensitive, then I will use a standard channel. And we'll take a look at how we can streamline communication for standard channels later in this tutorial. If you are still unsure about when you should create a new team or a new channel, then I have another tutorial comparing both of these features. Number 2 is how I manage files for projects. For demonstration purposes, we will use the big project team. So in the Files tab, I always store all of the team files into designated folders. So we'll go New and then Folder, and we'll give this folder a name. We'll call it Admin. And the reason for creating a designated folder is because Microsoft Teams automatically stores files into the Files tab. So this can get quite messy and overwhelming. And by having a designated folder, then you can organize the files that have been specifically created by your team members. And the other thing that I do here is I always define a color. And the reason for that, let's just go and create, is because Teams will even add folders. For example, this folder here for recordings automatically stores all of our recorded meeting files. And those folders that are automatically created are always yellow. So by having a custom color, then your team can easily identify which folders have been created by your team. So within this folder, we can then add our files, create a Word document. We'll call it contract, and then we can just create. Now you'll notice that we have these columns for modified and modified by. So this is metadata that is associated with the file. And if we select one of these columns, and then we can go column settings, and we can go show hide columns. So these are all of the columns or content that are associated with this file. So you can toggle on or off any of these to customize your file management experience. For me, I like to toggle on created and created by, and then now we can also apply. So now we can see who created the file and when that was created. If you wanted to, you could even drag and drop these columns to different locations. Now, in addition to these default items that are associated with this file, we also have the ability to add columns. So this would add custom metadata to organize and categorize your content. Now, I typically don't do this directly within a Teams channel because that custom metadata is then going to apply to all of the standard channels within the team. So instead, what I do is I will go to the ellipses and I will go open in SharePoint. And then from here, I will create a new document library to organize that specific content. So we can go to the Home tab, we can go New, Document Library, and in our case, let's just select this Media Library template. So you can get an idea of how custom columns allow us to apply metadata so that we can organize our content. So this creates a flat document library. We can now go use template. We'll just accept the default name there. And then now we will go and create. Now, I'm not going to dive into setting up a flat document library. I have a beginner and advanced tutorial on document libraries included in the playlist. However, when we create a separate document library, these can be a little bit difficult to find sometimes. So what I recommend doing here is grabbing the URL for this document library. Then within the team, we can go into the main files area. And here we'll go new and then link. So we'll enter the link. We can accept that name and then we can go and create. So here we'll click on that and we can also pin it to the top. So now team members can easily access that SharePoint document library. Next, we will look at number 3, which is my task management workflow. If you have a team for managing a bunch of smaller projects, then what you might want to do is in each individual channel is add a planner plan. So here you can manage all of the tasks associated with that one project within that channel. But for demonstration purposes, I already have a plan created in the general channel for the Nelson New Location project. So in tasks, we will see our plan here. And I'm just going to group this by buckets. So the tasks within a plan are organized by buckets as well as labels. And what I recommend doing for the buckets is aligning these with your channel names. So you'll see phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we have a similar layout for the channels. And I'll show you why this helps streamline communication later in this tutorial. After the buckets, we can also organize our tasks by labels. So labels are subcategories for organizing your tasks. And what I would recommend not doing here is creating or editing your labels to define a progress or priority for a task, because we already have fields on the task cards for those items. Instead, I would rename these, and you could do departments or even approval status. For the purpose of this video, we'll just keep the labels as the colors. Now, labels and buckets are really great because when you go to review your plan each week, you can group your tasks by due date, for example, and then we can start to filter for our labels or our buckets so that you can focus on specific tasks. And this allows you to easily identify which tasks are late so that you can follow up with those team members and adjust the plan accordingly. Now, just note that the features that we've discussed here are applicable to both basic plans and planner premium plans. But if you are managing a complex big project, then you might want to look at upgrading to planner premium. And I've included some videos on planner premium in the playlist. Number 4 is how I use lists to manage my routine workflows within my project. So here we have a Microsoft list to track our issues for our Nelson new location project. Now, lists are such a powerful tool because we are able to customize our list items. So we can add additional columns to customize the content that we need within our list. And a new feature of Microsoft Lists is the ability to add a form where we can collect information. So we can share this form with our team members. They can then update their issue, and the information will automatically be added into the list. Then we can add automations to our project workflow, including rules or configuring approvals, or even managing alerts. So Microsoft Lists is powerful and it's fully customizable. And in some cases, organizations prefer to use lists over Planner because Planner is quite rigid. But the major benefit of Planner is that tasks assigned in Planner sync with Microsoft Planner and To Do. Whereas unfortunately, if we assign a team member to a list item, like we've assigned this item to Mike, those do not sync with Planner or To Do. I've included a list beginner and advanced tutorial, and I also have a video comparing Planner and lists, and I've included all of those in the playlist below. Next, we will look at number 5, which is how I organize my notes for projects. Up until recently, we only had one option for managing our notes for our projects, which was via the Notes tab at the top of a Teams channel, which was OneNote. But recently, Microsoft added a new feature whereby we can add a loop workspace to a Teams channel, and that workspace inherits the permissions of the Microsoft team. So now we have the option to use Loop or OneNote. And there are a ton of factors that come into this decision process, which I've done a comparison video that is included in the playlist to help you decide. Whatever you decide to do, I would just recommend having only one of these apps pinned in your channels to avoid confusion and ensure that all of your notes go into the same area. For me, I personally like to use Microsoft Loop because it is designed for collaboration. So it has a lot of great tools for streamlining communication, which is great for project management. Next, we will look at number 6, which is how I manage communication within my team. Now, communication is really at the heart of any successful project. And I have debated doing a whole video on how we can effectively communicate within Microsoft Teams to reduce our dependencies on emails. If this sounds like something that you would like me to do, then drop a comment below and let me know. So conversations within a team take place in the channels on the Post tab. So when you start a post, it's kind of like sending an email. You enter the subject as well as the body, but instead of entering your team members' names on the to field, this message is just posted within this channel and is accessible to everybody on the team. Now, in addition to this post tab, we can also have conversations with team members in the chats area within Microsoft Teams. Now, chats are instant messages and should really only be for quick conversations that are not relevant to everybody within the team. Now, as you can imagine, if everybody on the team is posting within these channels, then notifications can get quite overwhelming. So let's now look at some best practices so that we can set up our communication within a Teams channel effectively. Let's start off with managing communication in the general channel. So we can select the ellipses and then we can go manage channel. So here we have moderation, which defines some settings for posting new messages. So by default, it is going to be anyone can post messages. On the more restrictive side, we can have only owners can post messages. Or if you have a large team, then you could turn on anyone can post, but it will show an alert that posting will notify everyone on the team. So you can decide which one of these is going to suit your team's needs. For me, I like to have only owners can post messages on the general channel. So this is how we can manage communication in the general channels. But for the other channels, if we go to post, then in the message body, we can press the @ sign, and then we can start to type the name of the channel. So we'll see here, we can mention that phase 2 channel, which this aligns with those buckets from our planner plans that we talked about earlier and can help you communicate with just that group of people. However, it's important to note that when we mention a channel, because it's a standard channel, that is going to notify everybody within this Microsoft team. So instead, what I recommend doing is adding tags. So we can hover over the team name, select the ellipses and go manage tags. And then here you can create a new tag. You can define a name. So we can just call this phase 2 tag. And then you can add members, which are going to be a subset of your team that are actively involved in this phase 2 channel. And then instead of mentioning the channel, you can mention the phase 2 tag, and that just streamlines communication. Now, the last piece of the communication component is ensuring that you have a communication policy available to the team. And I have defined this in that loop workspace, and it just outlines what the team should expect on where and how they can communicate with each other. Next, we will move on to number 7, which is other items for managing your project. In addition to the resources that we've mentioned so far, we can also add additional items to our channels, including a Microsoft whiteboard or even a SharePoint homepage. To access all of the videos mentioned in this tutorial, then you can check out this playlist here